Hey guys, our ratio from the dollar to the peso now is 58.62 as of this moment. It changes up and down all the time. But what I want to talk about is how that helps us keep on top of inflation over here. We're used to a lower rate than that usually over here in the Philippines. It usually doesn't get this high that often. So when it does get that high, it's a great hedge to inflation for us because of the fact that we make out more, we can buy more, we have more pesos to the dollar. And if you live in an area where things tend to be a little cheaper for one reason or another, a lot of places in the Philippines are kind of like an anomaly. Tracy is one of those places, but life is catching up to it a little bit, and it's starting to come up through the ranks and become a lot better of a place to live here. There's a lot of newer things, a lot of infrastructure changes, things like that are happening here that are making Tracy a really, really beautiful place to live. It's coming up through the ranks quickly because we have such a great mayor here. What I want to say is this, though. A lot of guys worry about inflation over here. I worry about inflation. I'll be honest with you. Inflation is terrible in the United States and a lot of other areas. And what happens is when inflation gets really, really super high, it hurts us, especially the elderly in the United States. But over here, you know, a lot of us retired folks are doing fairly well and living well. We live better than the average if you're living in the United States on $2,000, you're not living really, really well. You might be living okay, you're making it, you're not out spending money doing whatever you want to do. Whereas when you come to the Philippines, you got that extra boost from the peso to dollar rate, or dollar to peso rate, and prices are a little bit lower for the most part, but your rent is exceptionally cheap over here. No matter where you're renting over here, it's still cheaper than the United States for the most part. Even if you're in Dumaguete, if you compared it to Boston or New England, if you're living in New England, you're paying $1,500 to $2,000, maybe even $2,500 if you're living in Boston or more for a one-bedroom apartment. Whereas in Dumaguete, you're going to pay $300 to $500 probably. And where I live, you can get them furnished for about $120, $150, somewhere around there for one bedroom furnished. There are higher priced ones in different areas where you have access to a pool or whatever. You can get them for as low as $80 where I live, or even $60. My neighbor pays $60. He's also an expat. His place is a little bit tinier than mine. But each person is different. You know, we have also another expat down a little bit further. We have 4 more units that they're building up further up here, and I'm probably going to show those soon. And those are going to be available, and they're I call them grab me's. Grab me as soon as you can, because you know what? If you can, if you see one of those deals, you want to grab it because number one, it's brand new, it's fresh, and you can do kind of what you want with it. And if you pay your rents in advance, sometimes they'll give you a deal and say, you know what, you pay me in advance for a year, I'll cut you a 10% break or a 20% break or whatever. You can get deals. And you know, but I tell people it's best to do like 3 months at a time. Say, hey, listen, I'm gonna come in 3 months. If I like the place, I'll stay. If I don't, I won't stay. And when you come here, you also have to remember, when you have to come here, you have to have startup fees. Whether you're coming from a different area or whatever, there's always startup fees. You need either a refrigerator, or you need a stove, or you need something different. You always need something. You know, a lot of guys want to put in a new TV, or they want to fix something in there, put in a different toilet or a different tap, you know, for their sink or whatever. There's something that they don't like. They want new cabinets, what have you. You always want something different there. There is a little bit of a startup fee no matter where you go. Even if you're moving to a house down the street, there's some things there that you're going to want to fix up the way you want to have it done. And that's a good thing. But I want to get back to the inflation thing over here. For guys that are on the low budgets or you're on a higher budget, that inflation rate is killer, but the ratio of the dollar to the peso really makes us live, I won't say like kings, but we live pretty well here. A lot of guys on the lower budgets get that little extra kick. It's like getting a 5 to 10% kick in your pension, and it really helps. And also the rents over here, that gives you like a real big boost over here to live over here on the low rents over here. The rents over here are exceptionally cheap, a lot better than back in the U.S. Depending on where you are. If you're living up in BGC, you're going to pay a lot more. If you're living in Tracy or General Trias, your rent's going to be cheaper. If you're living in a gated community, you're going to pay a little bit more. Those are the differences. But the thing that helps us is that ratio. That ratio, when it's high like that, it's great. But when it dips down a little bit, yeah, it hurts us a little bit. But it's not so bad if it goes down to 55 or whatever. If we lose that 3 pesos, I usually consider that whatever above 50 is a blessing. I consider anything above 50 to 1 a blessing. And with that money, I usually do it for other things. I put that money aside for either spending or giving to other people or donating to the orphanage, or if I want to do something special that month, I'll use it for that or whatever. I take that money and I put it aside for whatever I want. It's kind of a different way of looking at things, but a lot of the other guys tell me they do the same thing. They always consider it 50 to 1, and everything else is a blessing. It's a good thing. And when it gets as high as 58.62, that's a good place to be. And I don't know if it's going to go high. Usually Christmas, it dips a little bit. I do think we might see 59 or 60 because at the way it's going right now, it's possible. There's a lot of things going on in the Philippines, a lot of spending going on. And I noticed they're building new bases here for some of their missiles and stuff like that. The Philippines is definitely becoming a little bit more militarized because they're worried. They're worried, and so they should be. And I think that's causing them to go into debt a little bit. And I think some of these things are also donated by other countries or sold to them for a deal from other countries or what have you. And this is stuff that's happening here right now because of the Philippines / China / United States / Canada / whatever other countries out there that China has an issue with. I will say this, that there's going to be a lot of spending here in infrastructure, I think, over the coming years. I think Marcos is trying to really build this country into a powerhouse, and it's going to become a powerhouse, I think, because of the low wages. It's cheap to start up a business here. It's not really super expensive. In the United States, like in California, nobody wants to go there to start a business because it's so difficult there and it's so expensive. So a lot of companies are leaving there. So a lot of companies might move overseas, maybe to the Philippines or what have you. We have tons of call centers over here because guess why? It's so cheap. To hire somebody in the United States now, some of the states you got to pay them $20 an hour or what have you. Like in California, that's craziness. It's craziness what they're doing. Like if you work in a restaurant in California, I think it's like $20 an hour now is what I'm hearing. I'm not sure if that's true. That's what I saw on the news. And other states it's cheaper. But to hire help out over here, you can pay them probably 500 or 600 pesos a day to work for your company, answering phones or what have you. It's a huge savings. When you divide that by 58 and 58.62 or whatever, it's not a lot of wages. It's just a few dollars. You're probably paying that more than that per hour over there in the U.S. And we're paying it for the whole day over here for somebody to go to work. It's kind of sad that it is that way because I consider it almost like kind of like slavery in a way, because for that kind of wage, that's slave wages. Because even when a lot of the slaves, when they lived in the United States and even in other countries, they got a certain amount of wages to take care of themselves, to buy their clothes, to buy their incidentals and stuff like that, the things that they needed. But here, these people manage to eke out a living, and I think that's one of the main reasons. Well, I ain't gonna say it's good. It's good for us, is that we get to take advantage of the low rents over here, and that's what helps us, is the way that the system works over here. The system, some might call broken, but for some reason the system works over here. People squeak by, they make it, they find ways to make money or whatever, and I think a lot of Americans, we're kind of like that too. We're used to that. But what's funny is when a Filipino goes to the U.S., they make a lot of money because they see all this it's like the land of opportunity for them. And when we come over here, we see the opportunities over here because our eyes are more wide open to what's around us. It's kind of a strange thing when you think about it. I don't know what you would call that, but it's just weird. We come over here, we see the great things about the Philippines. They go over to the United States, they see the great things about the United States that we don't see. I think the United States is getting to be a tougher environment to move to. I think the Philippines is a very easy place to move to for retirees because of the retiree visa that they have here and everything. That helps also. And also their tourist visas are very great because a lot of guys come over here and live off of those or what have you. But if anybody's thinking about coming over here, take a look at the ratio, because that ratio is substantial now. Now's the time to come over here and retire. If you want to retire, now's a good time to retire over here. Are things going to get bad over here? Is it messy over here, the situation with China and stuff like that? I think it is. Do I think something's going to happen? If it does, what are you going to do about it? You know, and I think the United States is going to be involved anyway, you know, and who knows if the actual, our country might be in the war too. We don't know. We don't know the future. None of us know the future for sure. I think if anybody ever attacked the United States, it'd be the end of them for sure because of the way our military is. We're not going to tolerate any crap from some other country doing something, even a powerhouse like China or Russia for that matter. We're not going to tolerate it. But I do think that I think it's fairly safe here right now. I think if we see things start happening, you can always get up and move to another country temporarily. You can move to Guam, you can move to Palau, you can move to Australia or New Zealand temporarily, or travel temporarily or whatever if you have to. But anyway, guys, God bless. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, this is a great ratio that we have right now. I seen it a little bit higher a few weeks back where it was 58.85, I believe it was at. So things can change. It could go up even higher. Let's hope it does for us, you know, but for the Filipinos, it is kind of rough. So in a way, I don't hope it, but it does help us here. And it is a huge boost. God bless, guys. Take care.